Tim Cook is leaving Apple. I don't get why people scream. In all seriousness, he acknowledges that he cannot remain Apple CEO forever, and sometime probably soon, he's going to have to pass the torch. Plus, we've got some all new info on the iPhone 17 Pro, some new leaks here you need to know about. Some folding iPhones and Macs and iPads are actually in the works and maybe coming soon. And just in general, I feel like this is one of the weirdest weeks for Apple news we've had in a while. So as we sort of round out the year, here's the biggest Apple news of the week you need to know about right now. Okay, so before we get into some of the more wild and controversial things, let me sort of ease into things with something that's a bit more predictable, but also exciting, and that is the iPhone 17. I just actually did a full video breaking down the entire iPhone 17 lineup, what we're going to see from Apple in 2025. I'll leave that linked up here and down below, but the gist of it is, hopefully, knock on wood, that we are going to get some pretty major design changes for every single model of iPhone. Not only is the iPhone SE4, which is a 2025 iPhone technically speaking, going to be getting a nice new, more modern design and refresh, but also all of the big iPhone 17s coming in the fall will be getting some significant design refreshes. Of course, there's the iPhone 17 Air that's said to be like one of the thinnest, lightest iPhones we've ever seen. And then in general, iPhone 17 and iPhone 17 Pro are also just going to look and feel different than what we've had basically since like the iPhone 12. Because like the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, last 5 generations of iPhone, I guess you could even count like the iPhone 11 and iPhone 10, they all sort of look the same. They felt similar. Hopefully that's about to change. Apparently, the same Russian YouTuber that somehow managed to get the MacBook Pro early before Apple even announced there was going to be a new M4 MacBook Pro has also gotten his hands or his eyes on new schematics for the iPhone 17 Pro, going to look something like this. There's been a lot of debate recently on if it's going to look like this or that or what's going to happen. We don't know final form, but what we do know is that it's around this time that Apple starts to sort of finalize their to-do list for the iPhone 17. This is about the time they start to lock in the design, and it seems from a bunch of different sources, the design is going to look something like this. Maybe there are some changes that happen over the next couple of weeks. Maybe it doesn't look like this in September, but here's what we can sort of know from all this. Some big design changes are coming, and it's likely going to look something like this. Not going to say it's 100% locked in, but likely something like this, which I hope it does because it looks super exciting. Sort of does look like a Pixel a little bit, but still looks nice for an iPhone. We're also hearing that Apple is going to be doing some experimenting with the iPhone in 2025, specifically the iPhone SE4. This is set to be Apple's first phone with their own custom cell modem built in. Remember actually back in 2019, Apple spent like $1 billion to buy basically the entirety of Intel's cell modem division. Then there were rumors on again, off again that they were going to do something with it, then they weren't, then they were, then they weren't. Now it seems like they actually are back on the train of making their own cell modem and sort of getting rid of their reliance on Qualcomm, and it looks like the iPhone SE4 is going to be the first iPhone to have that chip, and if all goes well, we might see that in other iPhones. I don't know if it's going to be ready in time for the iPhone 17, but maybe with the iPhone 18 and other things, we're hearing that Apple could put their own custom cell modem in iPads and maybe even MacBook Pros and MacBook Airs, something we haven't seen before. One of the benefits of this is that not only could it potentially unlock new features because there's that Apple integration in there, but maybe it could allow for even faster speeds or more importantly, better efficiency since Apple is building more of the components. They can know how they better work together and just in general help save on battery life. That's what we've obviously seen with the big move over to Apple Silicon with the Macs. We've seen it on the iPhone and the iPad, and this could be another component to that story. All right, next up, let's talk about the whole Tim Cook thing because this is ruffling a few feathers in the YouTube space in the Apple world, which I don't really understand why. I know that Tim Cook, I mean, we can compare him to Steve Jobs all day long, and we can say, you know, the things that he did well and things he didn't do well. We can debate that all day in the comments down below if you want to have that discussion. But in general, there has been an increase in speculation as to not only when Tim Cook might be leaving Apple and pursuing other opportunities or retiring most likely, but also who could be taking his place. I think it was, I think Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg, all major publications have sort of floated this idea to Tim Cook. And then once again, over the last couple of days, Wired Magazine had an interview with Tim Cook. They talked about a bunch of different things. And one of the subjects was, what are your sort of exit plans and your exit strategy? And Tim Cook sort of admits, I love Apple, love my job. I've been in Apple for decades, but I'm not going to be here forever, and sort of when the time comes, I will step down. And there is some speculation that could be happening sooner than later. Maybe not 2025, maybe. But I think 2026, 2027, I think in the next couple of years, we will see Tim sort of take a step back and unveil a new Apple CEO to take the reins. And of course, with that being said, there's a whole lot of speculation as to who could be Apple's next CEO. Could they hire an outside person to come in and shake things up? Could we get an Elon Musk Apple CEO? I highly doubt that's going to happen. Instead, I think the more logical thing is what Apple is going to do is promote from within, and there are a couple of names sort of in the contender space as to who we could see. Jeff Williams, Apple's current COO, sort of the new Tim Cook when Tim Cook got promoted. He has been in the running for a while now. He's an operations guy. He really made his claim to fame with the Apple Watch. It's sort of been his baby, his project. He's had a lot of success with that and has taken on obviously a very big role in the company. He is a name up there as to who could be replacing Tim Cook. Also, one of the newer names that also makes a lot of sense is John Ternus. He actually was sort of the face of a lot of these recent Apple announcements. He did all the new Mac announcements. He's been Apple's hardware guy for a while. He's made a lot of appearances at Apple keynotes. He's younger. He's energetic. People seem to like him. He also sort of is the new name as who could be Apple's successor. Of course, there's always the wild cards. People really love Craig Federighi. This one seems a lot less likely to happen given his age is more close to Tim Cook than someone younger like John Ternus, but he's obviously very well loved in the Apple community and people would love to see that. And then one sort of wild card I will throw out there is a guy named Alan Dye. We've seen him a couple of times. In Apple keynotes, he mostly works behind the scenes, but many refer to him as sort of the new generation of Johnny Ive. He has been responsible for a lot of Apple's big design changes. For example, the Dynamic Island was sort of his thing. He actually introduced the Dynamic Island and its features. And he also played a very big role with the Vision Pro as well. Technically, his title at Apple is he's the VP of human interface design, so that would sort of make sense, but he is a name that maybe is not doesn't make as much sense as John Ternus or Jeff Williams, but definitely someone who I think is high up there in the running for the next Apple CEO. So who would you like to see as Apple CEO? Drop a comment down below and let me know, and also when do you think Tim's going to be stepping down? We can also play that discussion game in the comments down below. And then finally, a couple of new Apple products in the pipeline we should see over the next couple of weeks, months, and years, depending on the product. We are hearing that Apple actually is working on an all-new Magic Mouse. This Magic Mouse design, not only is it super controversial, but it really hasn't changed much, I think in well over a decade. And of course, the whole sort of joke with this is that the charge port is still at the bottom. Even though it's USB-C, having a charging port at the bottom makes absolutely no sense because you can't actually use the mouse. So looks like Apple, according to Bloomberg, is actually going to finally do some kind of redesign for this and bring it into the modern century. And also we're hearing that Apple is working on a couple of other upgrades. Obviously, AirTag 2 is set to debut in 2025. Should be getting some nice updates with that for better precision tracking. And then also we're hearing from Bloomberg and even the Wall Street Journal that Apple is working on a couple of folding products. Folding iPhone, still in development. And then also sort of the main thing seems to be a folding, I don't know if it's a folding iPad, but it's going to be about the size of two iPad Pros. Some sort of folding 20-inch Apple device that would be sort of this new higher-end flagship product. I'm assuming it'd run iPad OS, probably not a MacBook, though we've heard Apple is experimenting with folding Macs as well. But basically, Apple is still hard at work on folding devices. And again, we're hearing from Bloomberg that the big holdup here is that they really want to make the crease invisible. Samsung's been trying to do this for years. There's obviously the whole issue with folding devices being more fragile. Apple's trying to make it not only more durable, less fragile, but also really try to make that crease non-existent. So that is sort of still in the works, something we could see over the next couple of years. But sort of the latest Apple product in the design lab to be getting a little bit closer to actually seeing the public eye, hopefully in the not too distant future. Though again, we've heard Apple's been working on folding stuff for a while and the dates keep getting pushed back and back and back. So we'll see if this actually gets released or not. All right, guys, I'm curious, your thoughts on the Apple news of the week, your thoughts on iPhone 17, your thoughts on folding Macs, folding iPads, folding iPhones. Also, who do you think should replace Tim Cook? And when do you think Tim should step aside and let a new leader come in and shake up things at Apple? Drop a comment down below and let me know. As always, I appreciate you guys so much for watching. Thank you for your support. Thank you for watching Apple Circle. Thank you for a wonderful 2024. You guys are amazing. You're awesome. I appreciate you all. I'm Robert Rosenfeld, and I'll see you all in the next one.